right, rock and roll. All right, get down with my bad self. Okay, what I was trying to do there, just play a little bit with my cool guitar here. I love my 335 guitar, my old guitar. Just hit a few pedals and kind of started rocking out. But what I was thinking about when I was playing there was trying to play some stuff that doesn't always sound straight up predictable pentatonic rock and roll. Nothing wrong with that stuff. Lots of great material within the pentatonic scale. But what I was going to try to do and talk about in this lesson is how to dress up your rock licks and how to kind of get more mileage out of pentatonic stuff and incorporating other devices inside of your pentatonic vocabulary to kind of dress up some of the notes that you play when you play rock stuff, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have you learn a lick out of my lick book. It's actually, it's kind of a nice idea that you might want to check out. It's called Heavy Rock, and it's lick number 36 in the lick book. And it has a lot of good elements to it that I want to talk about in our lesson here. So let me show you that nice and slow so you can check it out. And then we'll talk about what other things we can do inside of it. Okay, so the lick sounds like this. It's got this kind of neat pull off at the beginning of it. I'm going to read it for you slowly here. Turn it up a little bit and do that again. Okay, now what am I doing there that's kind of interesting? First of all, it changes positions a couple of times here. And it's got kind of a cool chromatic thing going down there. So it starts off in this pentatonic position. But it moves down here. So it starts off up here. And then it moves down with this chromatic phrase. Which I kind of like the way that moves down. And then it moves down a bluesy kind of approach. So that's a little bit more conventional right there. So it's kind of like two parts to the lick. So it has the first part, position shift, okay. So what I liked about that when I wrote it is that chromatic thing that's in there. And that's one of the things that we could talk about that'll dress up your playing, is trying to find chromatic connections between notes in your pentatonic positions. So a lot of times what could work is chromatic. Think about a blues scale like this. Or a pentatonic, okay? That's a pentatonic. What's chromatic about it is that you can add the blues scale notes in between, and you get a chromatic phrase between the fourth and the fifth, right? Because you get the flat five in there. So that's kind of the first start with your chromatics in your pentatonics, is to add the flat five in there. So this phrase right here, which is just playing up the blues scale from the second octave of the G here, and then coming back down, could also be added. You could also add something to it. You could add the flat seven on the top there. And then you can kind of get a little bit more motion out of that. So check that out, up to tempo. 3, 4. Okay, so that's chromatic, and there's some kind of a little bit more angular movement in that. Okay, Let's talk about some other ways to add chromatics. How about this phrase right here? So here's pentatonic on the top couple of strings. But with the flat 5 in there again. It's kind of similar, but you can get some other stuff happening on the top strings now. Check this out. Okay, so it's kind of riffy, but that little variation is giving you some other kind of places to go with your pentatonic. I like to do stuff like that too. Okay, check this out. How about taking chromatic approaches up to all the major notes of the pentatonic? So in other words, you could chromatically walk into the 4th, up to the 5th, up to the flat 7. Up to the root. So that's kind of an interesting sound. Listen to the way that would work. I'm basically going to go chromatically by going 2 steps below the 4th, the 5th, the flat 7, and the roots. Listen to how that could work. Okay, so that's other ways to get chromatics when you're playing, is walking into all the major notes of the pentatonic scale, right? You can pretty much do it on every degree of the scale. There's the minor 3rd, here's the 4th, here's the 5th. The only one that's a little bit weird, I have to be honest, is the flat 7, because when all these other ones that you start from have something to do more or less with the scale. Like when you start going into the 4th, you're essentially starting from the minor 3rd of the scale. So you're starting on a chord tone. When you walk into the 5th, you start from the 4th. So that's another chord degree. But when you start 2 steps below the flat 7, you start on a non-scale degree, or at least a non-pentatonic note. When you start from the flat 7 into the root, you're starting in the flat 7, so that's also a nice note. But that's okay. You can it's going to be kind of fast, so you don't really notice that note as much. You have to kind of use it a little bit more sparingly, okay? I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so that's one of the other ways you can dress up your pentatonics. Don't forget the lick that we just talked about. Let's try that one kind of slow halftime against this lick, against the progression. 2, 3, 4. Again. Okay, so those are some other ways. I like that. That lick is coming in handy. We're going to be able to get that in a variety of different things too. Okay, let's talk about a few other things before we send you off with your rock and roll stuff. And I like to do unexpected bends in the pentatonic scales too. Okay, so what I mean by that is I like to take a position of the pentatonic and grab a note as let's say I'm bending the fourth up to the fifth. Now the obvious place to put your fourth finger is right here on the flat 7 because it's right available in that position. Okay, but you know, who's to say that you can't reach out of the position and grab a note in a higher position? So you could grab the root up top. I mean, it's a little bit more difficult, but it kind of adds a certain unexpected jump if within the scale, right? And you can try to find that in a variety of different places, right? In every position of a pentatonic, you might find a place where you could grab a note outside of the reach of the scale, but maybe creating an unexpected jump. Let's say, there it is right there in this position. This is all G minor pentatonic, reminding you. The tricky thing about this is making sure that when you stretch and you get another note out of the position, you don't lose your pitch with your bend, because that's going to suck. If you start to go like this, and you start to lose your pitch, it's not going to be good. You got to maintain your bent notes accurately. That's why these things really work when you're in the high registers of the neck, because the frets are a little closer together. It's harder to do this. I mean, it's pretty much impossible to get that unless I use my second finger. Right? Which I guess I could do, but I probably don't do that very much. So that would also give you another choice. You could go, well, I could bend this flat 7 up to the root and try to grab the fourth, but it's hard to do here. But I could do it in this position. Right? So I could do it on another string, and the fourth is right here. So bending over strings is kind of a nice device too. Right? So don't always get stuck bending in the same spots all the time, like. I mean, that's cool and everything. I like that. But sometimes I want to do bends that aren't possible in one position, so I skip over strings. So I'm going to try to put some of these together and show you where I can go with them, okay? 2, 3, 4. I'm going to keep going. Okay, so I was goofing around, but you get the idea there. I'm trying to show you that it doesn't always have to be into a pentatonic note. It can be into one of the other notes that just fits in the scale, right? I like to sometimes grab notes that aren't in the pentatonic scale and just bend into them or grab them around other notes. If I'm bending the flat 7, and I'm going to go up to the root there, maybe actually it's more interesting because I'm already bending the root to play the 9th here, which is not in the pentatonic scale, but it sounds cool. Right? Listen to that now. There's the minor 3rd. That's the most predictable note. But maybe using a non-pentatonic note. There's another non-pentatonic note. Take another stab at that lick one more time. That lick that we learned at the beginning of the lesson. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we go. One more time. All right, that was it for now. I hope I helped you dress up your rock licks. It was a lot of fun. I'll see you on the next lesson, okay?